name is I'm a student here at Robert E. Lee High at San Antonio, Texas, bringing you a video today about the lytic and lysogenic cycles of viruses. Now, before we can get started with the two cycles, we need to know more about viruses. Viruses, first and foremost, are non-living particles. They are classified as such because of the following facts. Viruses cannot carry out respiration, they are not able to grow, and viruses cannot reproduce without a host. Viruses do not use the standardized binomial nomenclature naming system due to them being non-living. As such, viruses are often named for the disease they cause, such as the polio virus. Others are named for the place of which they affect, like with the adenovirus, which affects the adenoid tissues in the back of the throat. Bacteriophage is a specific type of virus that only infects bacteria. Different code numbers are used to differentiate several viruses that infect alike hosts. The T117 are bacteriophage that infect the E. coli bacterium. Here on top of this general virus, we see the structure of the head includes an inner core of DNA surrounded by these protein coats. Some larger viruses, like this one here, can have an extra layer called the viral envelope surrounding the two outer layers. The viral envelope is made up of phospholipids, the exact same material our cell's outer membrane is made out of. Remember this, it's going to be important. The head here contains the virus's genetic material, which can either be DNA or RNA depending on the type of virus. The nucleic acid consists of genes that contain coded instructions specifically telling the virus to make more copies of itself, nothing more.
Crush, kill, destroy, swag. Crush, kill, destroy, swag. Crush, kill, destroy, swag. Crush, kill.
A specific shape for a specific type of virus is determined by the arrangement of the proteins in the viral coat. Now, shapes aren't just for design. They play an important part in the infection process. Some examples of shapes being polyhedral, cylindrical, spherical, or polyhedral head with a tail. An example of the polyhedral shaped virus is the polio virus. Polio mainly affects children under the age of 3. It can cause paralysis or, in the worst cases, death. An example of a cylindrical shaped virus could be the tobacco mosaic virus. It can cause yellow spotting on the leaves of tobacco plants and renders them useless as a cash crop. Notice how this one only infects a plant? If you're still paying attention by this point, you would have catched on by now. Viruses don't only attack animals. Keep this in mind. As I stated before, the shape isn't a fashion choice. It helps a lot with reproduction. It also allows a virus to recognize a specific host cell and, very importantly, the attachment process. Attachment with a virus is very nitpicky. Due to the attachment protein having its own particular shape, its process of attachment is very specific. Not only that, but the shape also determines what the cell infects. Examples being the earlier bacteriophage and how they only infect certain strands of E. coli bacterium. These viruses are very specific. The T4 virus cannot reproduce in humans, animals, plants, or even different types of bacteria due to the fact that it simply cannot attach itself to that cell of other organisms because of its species-specific code. Some can also be cell-type specific, such as the polio virus that only infects the human nerve cells. Now to the good stuff. Here is a general view of the attachment and entry process. Here we see the virus comes close to the cell membrane and attaches itself with its leg-like structures. It then proceeds to pump its genetic code through its tail and then the cell's membrane, getting closer to the nucleus of the cell. A bit more specific here with the lytic cycle. The basic listing for the lytic cycle would be attachment first, entry next, followed by replication, assembly, and carrying out with lysis and release. This kind of cycle is where a host cell is killed and the victim shows symptoms. Going off for a minute here onto the lysogenic cycle. The basic listing for this cycle would be attachment and entry first, provirus formation next, followed by cell division, provirus leaving its host chromosome, carrying out with a lytic cycle. This type of cycle is where the host cell is safe and no symptoms show in the victim. Okay, so I spat out quite a lot of information at you, probably didn't catch that at all. Let's look at it a bit more closely. We'll start with the lysogenic cycle. Attachment and entry. First off, the initial virus attaches itself to the membrane of the cell, then proceeds to enter in. Now this is quite interesting but also confusing, so pay attention here. At this point, the virus already infected the cell and is pretty much boned at this point, but depending on the type of virus, it can go of two ways. It can either continue with the lytic cycle or branch off into the lysogenic cycle. We'll go into the lysogenic cycle for now and continue later with the lytic cycle. Moving on with the lysogenic cycle. Provirus formation. Instead of in the lytic cycle, where the virus goes in and wrecks stuff immediately, the virus's genetic material becomes one with the original genetic material of the host. Cell division. When mitosis takes place, the provirus is carried along for the ride and divides with the cell. After this takes place, the provirus leaves the host chromosome and then carries on with the lytic cycle. We have what's called the phage DNA here, and the original genetic material of the organism here. The phage DNA with some proteins then converts into new phage DNA, which looks exactly like its parent virus, this guy here. The new phage DNA then makes its way towards the outer membrane of the cell as the cell lyses or ruptures and releases the viruses. An example of what virus uses the lysogenic cycle would be the HIV virus, being dormant throughout several years of infection, only taking effect when AIDS is diagnosed. HIV will inevitably lead to AIDS. An example for the lytic cycle would be the influenza virus, taking effect immediately after infection and showing symptoms quite rapidly. Well everybody, hope you enjoyed this lengthy but informative explanation about viruses and their different types of reproduction cycles. This has been Robert E. Lehigh at San Antonio, signing off. See you later everybody, and please enjoy this song I made a while back. Please, I need your support. Hi Miss Levia.